Shout out Q. Shout out Q.
I'm Josh Kirby here at Shenandoah Apple Blossom Festival with a legend in my mind, Brian Mitchell, 106.7 The Fan, B. Mitch and Finley. How you like Winchester? I know you've been down south before a little bit, two exits down, but how you like it so far?
I've been here. I mean, I've been here before many times. I played golf at Rock Harbor a lot. I was at the same parade in 1993, but I come down here a good bit, do appearances and all, and when they reached out to me, I was happy to. Happy to come down again because I'm from a small town, and I like being in the small towns.
So, big news, Brian. The Commanders, going back to RFK, I know you've been covering it on 106.7 The Fan. What can you sort of elaborate on more from your point of view in all this and the move back to the site where RFK once was?
Well, they've been given the permission to go back to it. I really believe that Congress wants it there. A lot of people wanted to have it back. The guys that played there at RFK, we understand why people see it as the spiritual home of this team. The team did their best when they were there. And to get it back, I think it can revitalize that whole area. So for me, I believe things are happening. There are some people with doubts in their minds and things like that. But in my mind, if you got 100 senators all vote for something, it normally happens.
And with that, too, the revitalization, I know you had Brooke Pinto on, I believe, on your show, or that was Grant and Danny, but she was talking about how the revitalization could help the district in a sense when it comes to bringing the Commanders back, eateries, places to park, things to do around it. That's always a good thing when you have a stadium and stuff around it to go with it. And, what are your thoughts?
Well, when the Wiz and Caps put it down there in downtown, it revitalized that whole area. You look at the Nats, they came along over in the Navy Yard. That area is being revitalized. You look right now around the area where our RFK is, it's nothing there. And I think people understand baseball is big. Hockey, basketball is big. Football is huge. And can you imagine them? I know people try to say, well, it's only at least 30 events, top 30 events. But the thing about a football event, one football game will make more money than 5 or 6 baseball games or hockey games. So when you start looking at it like that, you're going to be making a lot more money. There's a lot more people coming in, 65,000 seat stadium compared to a 20-something thousand seat stadium. That's 40-something thousand more people spending money in your area. Those people, a lot of them come from out of town. They're staying in hotels. I do a lot of work with Events DC, and they are trying to get butts in beds, okay, people laying in the bedrooms. And if you're getting those more and more people doing that, you're making more money. Because the average person, if he buys a hotel room, he's going to go spend $120 on food and drinks. So think about what's being left in your community. So I know there are some people that have doubts and they want to get questions answered, but, ask those questions. But don't just have a blind eye and shut it off. As I said before, I believe it's happening.
So with that too, I know there's been so much talk about pricing out the season ticket holders. I'm not sure what you've seen from that, but like the lifetime seat or something. Have you heard anything about that? What are your thoughts from that?
I've been hearing that my whole life. I mean, I've been in D.C. now since 1990, and I hear people say, well, you're going to price out the real fan. The same fans I saw in RFK, I'm seeing at Northwest Stadium right now. Those people who want to get the tickets are going to get the tickets. The people that are going to be saying, oh, you're pricing me out, a lot of those people are going to get tickets still. A lot of people, they want to complain, but let's be real. What is going down in this world? You go to the grocery store, everything you buy, from eggs to whatever, is going up. Cars are going up. Utility bills are going up. Nothing is going down. I don't understand why people would expect that to really go down. Because if you want something to be able to brag about in your area, you have to pay for it. I understand it, and I know everybody has different levels of money. I would love to spend money like some of these billionaires. I can't. But I know if I want to do something, I know how to save on this moment to go get what I want. And if I don't have enough to go, I don't go. I go somewhere else.
Absolutely. So moving on quickly, the Commanders draft. In my mind, it seems like they hit a home run, protecting the investment in Jaden Daniels. What were your thoughts on the draft class?
Well, Josh Conley Jr. is unbelievably athletic. The guy is real good. You look at how good he's been, being just 21 years old. Could have possibly waited another year and been a top 5 pick, But he came out, and I believe he's going to the right coaching staff who's going to help to basically take him and help build him quickly. A lot of times we've had people come in, and I don't think they were able to go out there and really take the players and take them from one place that they are to where they need to go. I believe this coaching staff does that.
And this past season for the Commanders, storybook, all the way to the NFC Championship game. I know you've been there through it pretty much all with your coverage with Brian and Santana. Just what were some highlight moments that stood out to you from last season?
Oh, man, listen, the first game when they lost, people were really down because I guess we had been through so much negative, and the people were suffering from PTSD. But I saw stuff in that game that told me this team was going to be good. I saw a young quarterback in Jaden Daniels who was calm, cool, and collected through the whole game. Then we fast forward a little bit, just a few weeks later, where they go to Cincinnati and beat the Cincinnati Bengals. He stood toe-to-toe against Joe Burrow. They won that game, and then they travel on to Arizona, and that is when everything started. That team left from Cincinnati straight to Arizona, and every player talks about it. They had time to spend with each other. See, every fan wants training camp to be right here in the local area so they can all go to the – I want them to go away because I understand and I know what happens when they go away. When you have to depend on your brother or your friend, your teammate, the guy next to you for everything, you grow closer. That is what military people do when they go to training, go to camps and stuff like that. What's it called? Boot camp. They have to depend on each other, and that's why you see the close-knit groups, guys that go through the military together. And I think it happens for sports teams as well. So that worked for them. Then you go on to the Hail Mary, and then you go to 6 games won with the last play of the drive. And then all of a sudden you go into the playoffs and you win more games in 1 year than you probably ever thought. That we had won with the last how many years? And you end up in the NFC Championship game. Now they have tasted it. That means that this off season, you're not going to have to force anybody to do anything. They already tasted a little bit of success, and they want to go out there and get it done.
And it's pretty crazy because you've been covering this team for quite some time, post your time playing. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you and Doc Walker are the same in terms of you spread the truth about this team, whether good or bad. Just seeing all the hardships, adversity, for them to get to this point from this past season, that must be huge with the new ownership. And it seems like there's a lot more change ahead as well.
Well, I think I go back to the first press conference they had when they were at the stadium, and Magic Johnson said, players are going to just have to play. We're going to handle everything else. So you see this ownership went out and they got the most capable GM in Adam Peters. And then he went and hired a leader in Dan Quinn. And Dan Quinn had a lot of coaches he wanted to bring on and coaches that wanted to coach with him. And all of a sudden now you bring in players with a like mindset, and everybody's thinking about doing the exact same thing. Things happen a lot easier. Before, you had ownership that was caring about just getting money. They weren't caring about winning football games. You had coaches that were trying to protect themselves, come in, get paid, and they did nothing. And you had some players who wanted to get here just to get paid. Now you have everybody trying to get to a common goal or try to get to the Super Bowl. It doesn't happen every year for no one. But now you got people that are working towards that same thing, and you expect it to work. And I expect to see good things because I believe Josh Harris and his crew, they care about that area. You know, Mitch Arrell's, Mark Iron, those guys are from here. Magic has already had businesses here in this area. I believe when you have people that care about the area they're working with, nothing but success will come from it.
Absolutely. So to wrap things up, B. Mitch, I saw you at the Caps game not too long ago. Pretty electrifying. Were you at the game where Louvu chugged that Bud Light?
I was there. I've been at home. I was at all the home playoff games. I was at every game down the stretch where the Hovies was trying to break the record. Listen, I love our football team, but those Caps fans bring it. So I'm just going to put a challenge out to you, Commander fans. You got to match it. You got to match that intensity. It's a lot more of y'all, so let's make it a lot louder.
Do you think since joining the radio, I know you're more heavy on football, but in the off season, has it sort of broadened your horizons on the other sports in the district in a sense?
Well, I've always liked the other sports. You know, now I go to games, no matter baseball games, basketball game, hockey. Doesn't make me a difference. I go over to the DC Defenders. I go over to the hockey. The soccer games. All that. I believe in supporting the area. You know, because that's like when you look in the stands, you want to see it full. If you happen to see somebody from another team, it makes you even more proud. You find out that everybody pulls each other. Listen, people grow up in different cities all around the country. But still, when you get into an area, you want to show that area the love that they show you.
Brian Mitchell right here on the Kirby on Sports podcast, the Shenandoah Apple Blossom Festival. He's no stranger to this area, and the golf out here is really good, my friend. I'm telling you. I know how much you're out there golfing.
Oh, always. That's the sport I picked up because I like to do things that you could do forever. I can play golf forever. I can ride. I cycle. I ride bicycles. So those two things, no matter how old you are, you can still get it done.
B. Mitch, really appreciate your time. Enjoying the rest of your balloon.
Cool, man. Thank you.
Shout out Q. Shout out Q.
The Kirby on Sports podcast, Shenandoah Apple Blossom Festival. Honored and pleased to be joined by employee number 11, Ryan Zimmerman. Ryan, thank you so much for the time, first and foremost. And I just got to ask, how do you like Winchester so far?
You know, I've been out here a couple times. Me and my wife have some friends out here, and it's a great city. It's beautiful out here. You know, it's you come out here from the DC area, and it's nice to just relax and walk around. The downtown area is awesome. Good places to eat, and people are nice. So it's good to be back. But I've never been out here for this, which is quite the production. It's cool to be a part of, and I'm excited to kind of see it over the next couple days.
So I have to ask, because I've been down to Charlottesville before, and just the walking mall is sort of similar to this.
Right.
Do you sort of get Charlottesville from this?
Yeah, I would say so. And I think a lot of like the houses around here, there's a lot of columns. There's a lot of the same sort of architecture. But no, I love towns like this, like Charlottesville, like anywhere where you can just kind of walk around and people are nice and you can pop in and out of places and get some good bites to eat and a few drinks of your choice if you want. But no, I'm honored to be a part of it. This festival has been going on for a long time with tons of history, so it's really cool to learn about it while I'm here too.
And how did you actually get to this point for being sports marshal? I mean, what was the process like?
So we have some good friends out here that helped me with my foundation a bunch when I was younger, and you know, they've always said if you're ever around, you should look into doing this. We'd love to have you. And you know, for a couple years, it just didn't work out. Where I either had something going on, I was traveling, kids stuff, something like that. And this year, it finally worked out. So, you know, like I said, I'm honored to be a part of it. There's a ton of history in this city and with this parade. So I'm looking forward to kind of taking it all in over the next couple days.
So I'm not really entirely sure I'll let you answer this, but your role with the Nationals, more front office, how have you acclimated to that over the years, just being a part of the team still that you've given so much to, because you've been with the club since the beginning, so much history involved?
Yeah, and I knew when I was done I wanted to stay involved. We have 4 kids, and when I first retired, we had 2 boys under 2. So the first 2 years I only did, 15 or so days of all sorts of different stuff. And then, starting last year, I got closer to like 50, 55 days. And, like you said, it's a little bit of everything. It's front office, it's player development, it's talking to some of the minor league guys, it's doing some games on TV. For me, it's more of staying involved, but also learning the other side that I never got a chance to learn while I was a player. So it's fun for me to learn and see how the other side views running an organization compared to how a player views it. But the other thing is you can't really get out of the game and then get back in. And, I'm busy with my kids and stuff now, but in 10 years or something like that, if I wanted to really reinvest my time and get involved, it's hard to get out for 5 or 10 years and then come back in. So it's a great learning experience for me. It gives me that baseball fix without having to travel and without having to be away from my family that much. So it's kind of the best of both worlds for me.
Did you know while you were playing that you always wanted to kind of pursue that another avenue of baseball?
Well, I think, when you're playing, you never really know, because I don't want to say everyone thinks it's never going to end, but when you're playing, you don't really think about it. And then as I got towards the end of my career, and the last couple of years I wasn't playing every day, so I had time, and I'm a realistic person, so I understood it was nearing the end, and you just start thinking about what you'd be interested in doing. And I'm very fortunate to live in the area. I've only played for one team. They're very gracious in letting me do a lot of things that maybe if I wasn't in the situation I was in, I wouldn't have that same relationship. So it's a win-win situation for me. I like being around. It's fun for me to stay connected and still be around a lot of the people that I've created meaningful relationships with. So I guess to answer your question is no, I didn't know what I was going to do. And to even further answer your question, I still don't know what the heck I'm going to do, but I'm just trying to, kind of learn about everything and see what I like, see what I don't like, see what I'm decent at, see what I'm not good at. And then, when the time comes, whenever I have a little bit more free time, then, I'll be able to pursue that.
And with your role that you're in with the Nationals, being a former National, do you think that helps in a sense? You have experienced that if you're talking to minor leaguers or whoever you might be talking to, your experience in the league helps with that in a sense?
Yeah, and I think you're starting to see a lot more of that in every sport. You know, I think a lot of the leagues are bringing back retired players that played for a while, just not so much to make policy or change anything, but just listen and hear what matters to players, what matters to families, what's important, so that both sides can get along a little bit better. So, you know, I mean, obviously playing for one organization my entire career definitely gives me an advantage and a foot in the door. But, you know, once I start, I'm just like everyone else, and I'm just trying to learn and make everyone better and ultimately win more games. I think that's the goal for everybody.
And you alluded to this, but you know, as a Virginia native with your ties here, how much does it mean to be the sports marshal at such a big event?
Yeah, I think it's cool, and community has always been a big part of me, my family, my foundation, and I think as athletes we have such a good, you know, we have something that other people don't. We have a pedestal, we have an arena to talk to people and get the word out for good things, and you know, so many people have been helpful for me with my foundation throughout the years. So giving back to communities in the Virginia area that have rooted for me and the Nats, and you know, they've been some of our best fans. It's pretty cool to come back and be able to see people like this in a community out here.
So Ryan, I want to go back to the World Series win. That was a great run that Washington, the Nationals, had. It seemed like after that, then COVID hit. People were saying, about when you might hang it up. And with COVID and stuff, you decided to come back. When did you finally decide it was time to hang it up with the Nationals? And what stands out about just your career as a whole with the organization as a player?
No, I mean, we won in 19, and I always say I think that 2020 year was pretty disappointing for everyone, obviously, for many reasons. But, you know, I think as a team we were really looking forward to being defending World Series champs and going into every city and getting everyone's best shot. And, you know, we were an older team, and I don't want to say we needed that, but, you know, I think we all enjoyed, or we thought we were going to enjoy what that entailed, being the defending champs and going in and not being able to do that. I think I always look back and just think how disappointing that was, and for our fans to not have a whole year of us being the World Series champs. Obviously, games were played, but no fans were there. And then I came back in 21, and, you know, I think I still could have done what I was doing for a couple more years. But, you know, I was around 17, whatever, how many years it was, and I had little kids at home, and it was to the point where it wasn't that I didn't enjoy playing anymore. It was I wasn't really all in November and December and January when you have to start getting ready for the season. And I kind of always said, if that ever stopped, if I ever stopped wanting to prepare and get ready, then I knew it would be time to hang it up. So, you know, I'm fortunate I got to do things on my terms. Not many people get to do that, so I realized how lucky I was to be able to have that in my career end that way. But I'm obviously forever grateful for the organization and the city and everything I was everything I did in my career.
You mentioned your foundation and raising money and awareness for MS. I know your mom has MS. I mean, how much work goes into that, and what have you kind of gotten out of that, not just yourself, but also the community as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, we started that in, I guess the winter of '05 pretty much. My parents were heavily involved until the last couple of years. They finally took a step back, and, you know, during COVID, like a lot of these foundations, we couldn't really do much. And then me and my wife had a fourth kid, so that pushed us back even a little bit more. So we're now starting to kind of get things organized again, and hopefully by sometime this fall, or probably more early spring next year, we're going to kind of re-roll out the foundation and start doing things again. But, you know, for us, it's been rewarding just to meet other people that have gone through the same things that we went through. And I think my mom and dad and my brother really enjoyed just getting out into the community, seeing the support, and I think it's given my mom, I know it has, positive momentum to keep going because she enjoys doing it. And, you know, to be able to have a platform and raise money, and, you know, we give a lot of that money back to the UVA Neurological Center, so just to be able to do something like that is something I never thought I'd be able to do, so we're very proud of that.
You mentioned the rollout. I mean, what will that look like? I mean, what kind of events will you guys put on?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's still what we're trying to figure out, but I think what COVID kind of taught us is those small, intimate events are what people like, and we were sort of forced into doing that for a year and a half or 2 years. And I'm not saying a big gala or a big event isn't fun, but you can do a little bit more. So, say we do a couple of those small events every year where you have 50, 60 people, but you get a cool speaker, you have a nice, like a chef do a dinner, and whether it's, you find a cool venue, whether it's a restaurant that I'm involved in or our house even or something like that. So that's sort of the thought, like I said, we're still trying to figure it out, but I think what we learned over the last 4 or 5 years is people really enjoy those kind of situations more than the huge, black tie, tux, things like that. So we'll see, but yeah, like I said, hopefully we're in the middle of kind of getting things planned now, and hopefully be ready to go soon.
In your role with the Nationals, do you think, I know they promoted your foundation, but do you think with the rollout and your role with the Nationals that could help in terms of promotion or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that always helps, but there's so many ways to get information out now, almost too many, honestly. But I think people talk about social media and all this. I think that is one thing that it is great for, and you can get messages out, you can get word out of good causes, and that's how I find out about a lot of these other causes that I've been lucky enough to help support. But so we'll find a way to get it out. But yeah, the Nats have always been very grateful and has supported my initiatives, and I'm very thankful for that.
And just one thing to close it off, Ryan, I know this Nats team currently, they're fighting really hard. A young bunch of players that fight hard. Just take me through what you've seen out of the season. I know you've called some games in the booth with Bob and that crew, and just what have you seen so far, and what are you expecting to see in future games ahead?
Yeah, I mean, the young pitching staff was great last year, and they've continued to throw the ball well this year. The bullpen obviously has been kind of the part that struggled a little bit, but it's a long season. I think, the young position players, it's going to be fun to watch them play a whole year and see what you have. And, I always said everyone wanted them to go out and spend money last off season, and, I'm all for spending money, but I think this year is a good learning year to see what we have in Dylan Cruz, James Wood, Brady House in the minor leagues, a lot of these starting pitchers. So after this year, you'll have a better sort of picture of, this guy's going to be an everyday big league player. And then if you know who you have, then you can kind of target the positions where you're weak in the minor leagues or you don't have anyone coming that you can go out and spend in free agent that way. So I think it's going to be a fun team to watch. Like you said, they play hard. I mean, that's one thing Davey always has said, whether it's, when we had $200 million payrolls and veteran guys or, a young team like this that's learning, he expects you to play hard every day, and, they're no different. They're fun to watch. They don't ever give up, and they definitely have some young, talented players. Pretty
cool to see Gerardo and Sean Doolittle in coaching roles with the team.
Yeah, and they work, man. It's, I'm in there, like I said, every 6 or 7 days a month, and, they take it serious. So it's good for them to be around for those guys too. They have so much knowledge and experience that they can kind of share with these young guys, and I know the young guys appreciate it too.
Ryan Zimmerman, really appreciate your time here at the Shenandoah Apple Blossom Festival right here on the Kirby on Sports podcast. Thank you, and best of luck to you in the future and your foundation, and enjoy the rest of Bloom.
All right, thanks for having me.
Shout out Q. Shout out Q.
I'm Josh Kirby, the Shenandoah Apple Blossom Festival here on the Kirby on Sports podcast. I'm joined by another sports guest, Charles Mann, former Washington Redskin. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. It's nice to be in Winchester.
I know you've been here before, but have you heard about the Apple Blossom Festival? How that all come together about you getting out here, essentially?
I actually got asked by the mayor. So the mayor asked, obviously I said yes. And I thought about it for a minute. I said, I know about the Apple Blossom Festival. I've certainly been in it before, I guess. And I've been here. I think it was going on while I was here, but I actually hadn't been a part of it. So this is an honor for me.
So let's go back to your playing days. I was at the sports breakfast. I heard you talk about your path to get here and whatnot, and how unique that path was in your mind, getting with the right people, your faith a part of that as well. Just can you touch a little bit more about your path getting into football again?
So I played 1 year of high school football, and I remember my oldest brother, who went to Stanford University and ended up becoming an anesthesiologist, a really smart guy. And he came up to me one day when he was at home one time. He said, Charlie, that's what they used to call me. He said, Charlie, you have to play football to actually get a opportunity to play in college. I said, yeah, I know that. And then I had to ponder that after he left. I said, yeah, I actually do need to start playing. So I didn't play until my senior year. I finally made it onto the team. The coaches were after me my junior and sophomore year because they saw this big old kid that they thought they could mold into something. And so I finally played. I ended up being pretty good, but I was playing defensive tackle and tight end. And I thought I would be the quarterback or a running back or even a receiver, one of the stars, not playing one of these other roles. But I ended up liking hitting people instead of getting hit.
So, Redskins, playing for the Redskins. You were on the defensive line on the opposite side, Dexter Manley. That must have been a tandem to deal with, just in your mind, for the oppositions coming up against your Redskins team back in the day. What was that like?
Well, first of all, Dexter Manley, back then, he was Mr. D. So he had the mohawk. You remember Mr. T? Well, Dexter was Mr. D. And Dexter was quite a character. And he was on one side, and he was causing a lot of chaos. And he was somebody you had to deal with if you played us. And I was trying to be as quiet as I could, quiet as a mouse on the other side, so that maybe they wouldn't send but one blocker against me, not two. And so for a while, I was able to get away with that as being kind of the quiet guy on the other side. Eventually, as I started, 1 year, Dexter and I he had 14 and a half sacks. I had 14. We were the top sacking defensive tandem in the league at that time. And people started paying attention to me. So then I started getting a lot of work, a lot of pressure. And it was fun, though. It was fun. Because every time my wife was pregnant with a child, and I have 3, we won a Super Bowl. How about that?
So Super Bowl. I'd like to get your thoughts. Just what is it like having the success, making it to a Super Bowl, and winning in your mind? Can you put that into words in any quantification?
Well, yes. You're on top of the heap. The NFL has 32 teams, and you're one of the 2 of the last ones remaining. And you have normally, well, it depends. Now they have about 2 weeks to get ready for that Super Bowl. It depends. Some years we had 1 week, and other times they were 2 weeks. But you have a couple of weeks to prepare, and the whole country is watching. Everybody, there's 8 games going on at any one time in the NFL. Now all of a sudden there's only 1 game going on, and you're the stuff. And everybody, and first thing I would think about when I'd be in those games is, who is watching me and saying, hey, I played with that guy. Hey, I went to school with that guy. Hey, I know that guy. And that was kind of a cool thing, and saying, hey, the whole country is watching, and they know who I am.
So, with the success, the teams back then in the NFL, what do you sort of see in terms of the evolution of football from back then to now? Because I know there are a lot of adjustments, a lot of rule changes. In your mind, does anything stand out to you specifically?
Oh, of course. You can't hit the quarterback. When I played, I would hit the quarterback late. That means after he's released the ball, I would hit him to let him know I was there. Hey, by the way, I'm gonna see you on the next play, and if you're holding that ball, I'm gonna take you down pretty hard. And even if you're not holding the ball, I'm gonna take you down pretty hard. Well, now I'd get a 15-yard penalty. That's the biggest thing that's changed. And they've made the rules a little bit more offensive-minded for the offense, which is something you don't necessarily care for, because it should be both sides, and they only make it because they want to see more points being scored.
So to wrap things up, just modern day, the Commanders, the biggest news moving to RFK. What do you know about that, and what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, that would be awesome. If the Commanders end up moving back to RFK, and I know the deal is still out, they're not exactly sure, but it would be special. When I think of RFK Stadium, I think of the stands going up and down. I'm thinking of the fans chanting, "We want Dallas," even in week 1, and Dallas isn't until week 8 or something. I just remember all the fun that we had. And what you really remember when you think of RFK is you think of winning. The Commanders, then Redskins, used to always win. Look at that.
Oh, yeah, the Super Bowl ring, everything. Really appreciate your time. We got to let you go, but thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your stay here in Winchester, and thank you so much for coming on the Kirby on Sports podcast.
Amen. Thank you. Thanks for having me.